The coffee shop smelled like burnt espresso and vanilla syrup. Elena Martinez sat in the corner booth, her laptop open to a half-finished translation job that was already 3 days late. The fluorescent lights made her headache worse, but she couldn't afford to work from home anymore. Not since the electricity bill had doubled and her landlord had started leaving threatening notes under her door. She pressed one hand against her stomach, feeling the small swell beneath her oversized sweater. 14 weeks. The baby was the size of a lemon now, according to the app on her phone. She hadn't told anyone yet. Couldn't afford to, really. The moment people knew she was pregnant and alone, the questions would start. The judgment would follow. The document on her screen blurred as another wave of nausea rolled through her. Morning sickness was supposed to end after the first trimester, but nobody had told her body that. She reached for the ginger tea she'd been nursing for the past hour, now cold and bitter. Elena? The voice cut through the ambient noise like a knife. She knew it instantly. Would have recognized it anywhere, in any context, even though she'd spent 6 months trying to forget it existed. She looked up slowly, dreading what she would see. Marcus Chen stood 3 feet from her table. His black hair was perfectly styled, his blue shirt probably cost more than her rent, and his smile was the same one he'd used when he told her she was being dramatic about his cheating. The woman beside him was everything Elena wasn't anymore, thin, polished, wearing a red dress that clung to her body like it was painted on. Wow. Marcus's smile widened, but his eyes were cold. I almost didn't recognize you. Elena's throat went dry. She hadn't seen him since the breakup 8 months ago. Hadn't wanted to see him. Had rerouted her entire life to avoid this exact moment. Marcus. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. I didn't know you came here. I don't usually. His gaze dropped to her body, lingered there with an expression that made her skin crawl. Clearly you do, though. A lot, from the looks of it. Heat flooded her face. The coffee shop seemed to shrink around them, other conversations fading into white noise. She was suddenly, painfully aware of every person who might be listening, might be watching Marcus Chen tell his fat ex-girlfriend that she'd let herself go. I should get back to work. Elena reached for her laptop, but Marcus moved closer, blocking her exit from the booth. Come on, don't be like that. I'm just surprised. He glanced at his girlfriend, then back at Elena. You look different. Different. She repeated the word flatly. Yeah, you know. He gestured vaguely at her. You gained weight. A lot of it. I mean, I know the breakup was hard, but this is just unhealthy, Elena. You should really take care of yourself. The girlfriend laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Marcus, leave her alone. Maybe she's just stress eating. Maybe. Marcus leaned against the table, casual, like they were old friends catching up. Is that it, Elena? Because you used to be so careful about your appearance. Remember when you wouldn't even eat dessert? And now look at you. Elena tried to stand, but Marcus didn't move. His body blocked the narrow space between the booth and the next table. The pregnancy made her slower, clumsier, and Marcus knew it. She could see the knowledge in his eyes, the way he'd positioned himself deliberately. Excuse me. She kept her voice level. I need to go. Where? Got another shift at some dead-end job? He said it loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Because I heard you're doing translation work from coffee shops now. That must pay really well, judging by everything. His gesture took in her whole life. The cheap clothes. The battered laptop. The corner booth in a coffee shop she couldn't actually afford. The baby she carried alone because the father had disappeared the moment she told him. Had blocked her number and moved to another city so fast she'd half convinced herself she'd imagined him entirely. Move, Marcus. I'm just worried about you. His tone shifted, became almost gentle, which was somehow worse. This isn't healthy. You're clearly depressed or something. Maybe you should see someone. A therapist. A nutritionist. Someone who can help you get back to normal. Her vision tunneled. She was going to be sick. Right here in this expensive coffee shop with its exposed brick walls and Instagram-worthy lighting. She pressed one hand to her stomach, feeling the baby flutter against her palm, and wished desperately for the ability to disappear. The lady said move. The voice came from behind Marcus. Low and controlled, with an accent Elena couldn't quite place. Italian, maybe, or something close to it. Marcus stiffened, then turned. The man standing there was taller than Marcus, broader, with black hair and dark eyes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. He wore a black suit that fit him perfectly, and there was something in the way he stood, utterly still and completely relaxed. That made Marcus take an involuntary step backward. "Sorry, man, we're just talking." Marcus's voice had changed, lost some of its edge. "This is my ex-girlfriend. We're catching up." "No." The man's gaze moved to Elena, held for a moment, then returned to Marcus. "You're leaving." It wasn't a question, wasn't even really a threat. Just a statement of fact, delivered in that same even tone that somehow made the coffee shop feel colder. Marcus's jaw tightened. "Look, I don't know who you think you are, but this is a private conversation." The man didn't respond, didn't move, but something changed in the air around them, and suddenly there were two other men standing nearby, both wearing dark suits, both watching Marcus with expressions that suggested they'd be very happy if he gave them a reason to do something other than stand there. Marcus's girlfriend tugged on his arm. "Marcus, let's just go." "Yeah." Marcus forced a laugh that didn't sound convincing even to him. "Yeah, we should grab our table anyway. Good seeing you, Elena. You should really watch what you're eating, though. For your health." He walked away quickly, his girlfriend's heels clicking against the tile floor as they disappeared toward the back of the coffee shop. The stranger watched them go, then turned to Elena. "You okay?" Elena managed a nod, though her hands were shaking so badly she had to clasp them together in her lap. "Thank you. You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." He gestured to the empty seat across from her. "May I?" Every instinct screamed at her to say no, to gather her things and leave, to not accept help from a man who had 2 bodyguards and moved through the world like he owned it. But her legs felt weak, and she wasn't sure she could stand without embarrassing herself further. "Okay." He sat with movements that were economical and precise. Up close, she could see the faint lines at the corners of his eyes, the shadow of stubble along his jaw, the way his dark eyes assessed her without making her feel judged. He was older than Marcus, maybe late 30s, and carried himself with the kind of confidence that came from never having to prove anything to anyone. "I'm Dante." He didn't offer his hand, seemed to understand that she wasn't ready for touch. "Elena. Elena." He repeated it like he was testing the weight of the name. "That man, your ex-boyfriend?" "Yes." The admission tasted bitter. "He's an asshole." A startled laugh escaped her, surprising them both. "Yeah, he is." Dante flagged down a server, a young woman who appeared instantly at his elbow. "Water for the lady." And whatever she was drinking, but hot this time. "I'm fine, really. You're shaking." His tone left no room for argument. The server disappeared, returned within moments with a glass of ice water and a fresh cup of ginger tea that probably cost more than Elena made in an hour. She wrapped her hands around the cup, letting the heat seep into her palms. "Thank you." She meant it, for the tea and before. "I have sisters." Dante's expression softened slightly. "3 of them. I know what it looks like when a man is trying to make a woman feel small." They sat in silence for a moment. Around them, the coffee shop continued its afternoon rhythm, oblivious to the small drama that had just unfolded. Marcus and his girlfriend were seated at a table near the window, his back deliberately turned to them. "Is he the father?" Dante asked quietly. The question should have shocked her. Instead, it felt like relief. Like someone finally seeing what she'd been trying to hide. "No." The answer came quickly. "No, the father signed away his rights when he found out. He wanted nothing to do with this." She gestured at her stomach, the swell of life that Marcus had turned into something shameful, something worth mocking in a crowded coffee shop. "Then he's a fool." The simple certainty in Dante's voice made her throat tight. Elena took a sip of the tea, let the ginger and honey ground her back in her body. She should let him get back to whatever meeting he was having, should thank him again and let this strange moment end. But something made her hesitate. "Where do you live?" Dante asked. The question should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt practical, like he was already planning something and just needed the details. "Riverside. The apartments near the old factory." "That's not a safe area." He said it matter-of-factly, without judgment. "It's what I can afford." Dante pulled a card from his jacket pocket and placed it on the table between them. Heavy cream stock, embossed with a name and phone number. No company, no title. Just Dante Romano and 10 digits. "If you need anything. If your ex shows up again. If you just need someone to call. Use this number." Elena stared at the card. "I don't understand. Why are you helping me?" "Because I can." He stood, smoothing his suit jacket. "And because no one should have to deal with men like that alone." 2 weeks passed before Elena touched the card again. It had lived in her wallet, pressed between her medical insurance card and a grocery store receipt, a secret she carried everywhere but never acknowledged. Then the envelope arrived. It was waiting for her when she got home from the laundromat, propped against her apartment door like a threat. Thick cream paper, expensive weight, the kind that lawyers used when they wanted you to know they meant business. Her name printed across the front in serif font. Elena set down her bag of clean clothes, hands already trembling as she tore open the seal. The letter inside was 2 pages long, dense with legal terminology she'd have to translate if it were in another language but somehow struggled to comprehend in English. Marcus was suing her for defamation, claiming she'd been spreading rumors about his infidelity, that her mental instability and weight gain had damaged his professional reputation. He wanted a restraining order against her. He wanted compensation for emotional distress. He wanted her to sign a document admitting she was psychologically unstable. The words blurred together as she read through it once, twice, 3 times. Each pass made it worse, revealed new horrors buried in the legal jargon. There was a court date already scheduled. A demand that she retain legal counsel immediately. Threats of additional charges if she didn't comply. Elena made it to the bathroom before she threw up, her knees hitting the tile hard as morning sickness combined with pure panic. The baby kicked against her ribs, probably sensing her distress, and she pressed one hand to her stomach while the other clutched the edge of the toilet. "It's okay," she whispered, though she had no idea if that was true. "We're going to be okay." But she didn't know how. The letter demanded a response within 10 days. It referenced lawyers she couldn't afford and procedures she didn't understand. Marcus knew she had no money for this, knew she'd barely scraped together enough to survive month to month. This was calculated cruelty, and it was working. Elena pulled herself up using the sink, splashed cold water on her face, and stared at her reflection. Dark circles under her eyes, hair that needed washing, a face that looked older than 26. The kind of woman who lost battles like this. The card was still in her wallet. She pulled it out, turned it over in her hands, and wondered what kind of help a man like Dante Romano could actually provide. He'd said anytime, for any reason, but surely he hadn't meant this. Hadn't meant getting involved in messy legal drama with an ex-boyfriend who wouldn't let go. She made it until midnight before she called. The phone rang twice before his voice came through, clear and alert despite the late hour. "Elena, I'm sorry." The words tumbled out. "I know it's late, I shouldn't have called, but I didn't know who else to ask and the letter said 10 days and I don't have money for a lawyer and I'm scared he's actually going to." "Stop." Dante's voice cut through her spiral gently but firmly. "Take a breath." She did, pulling air into lungs that felt too tight. "Now tell me slowly. What letter?" So she did. Explained about the envelope, the legal demands, Marcus's claims that she was mentally unstable and had defamed him. Her words came out steadier this time, though her hands still shook as she held the phone. Silence stretched after she finished. Long enough that she thought maybe the call had dropped. Maybe he'd hung up and blocked her number and she'd just destroyed the only connection she had to someone who might help. "Where are you right now?" Dante asked finally. "Home. My apartment. Lock your door. I'm sending someone to you." "No, that's not necessary. I just wanted to ask if you knew a lawyer who might." "Elena." He said her name like a full sentence. "Lock your door. My people will be there in 20 minutes. The line went dead. 19 minutes later, there was a knock at her door. Through the peephole, Elena saw a woman in her early 40s, dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, wearing a charcoal suit and carrying a leather briefcase. "Ms. Martinez? I'm Sofia Romano, Dante's sister. I'm the attorney who'll be handling your situation." Elena opened the door, still processing the fact that Dante had sent his own sister. Sofia stepped inside, took in the small apartment with one efficient glance, then set her briefcase on the kitchen table. "May I see the letter?" Elena handed it over, watching Sofia's face as she read. Her expression gave nothing away, but her jaw tightened slightly when she reached the second page. "This is harassment." Sofia set the letter down with careful precision. "Everything in here is designed to scare you into compliance or silence. Your ex has no case. None whatsoever. But he has lawyers. Real ones. So do you now." Sofia pulled out a yellow legal pad. "Walk me through everything. From the beginning." So Elena did. The relationship with Marcus, the emotional manipulation that had taken her years to recognize as abuse, the breakup, the brief relationship afterward with a man whose name she could barely remember. His disappearance when she told him about the pregnancy, the papers he'd signed relinquishing all parental rights. Sophia took notes, asked pointed questions, never once made Elena feel judged or small. When she finished, Sophia set down her pen and looked at her directly. Your ex has no legal standing for any of this. The defamation claim is baseless, you haven't spread rumors. The restraining order is laughable, he approached you, not the other way around. This is intimidation, pure and simple. So what do? We respond with overwhelming force. Sophia's expression was coolly professional. I'll draft a response that not only refutes every claim but threatens counter-litigation for harassment and abuse of legal process. I'll include witness statements from the coffee shop, documentation of his behavior, and a formal demand that he cease all contact. Will that be enough? It'll be a start. If he persists, we escalate. Sophia pulled out a contract. Now, for the work arrangement. Dante mentioned you do translation? Elena blinked at the sudden shift. Yes. Medical documents, legal contracts, technical manuals. Portuguese, Spanish, French. Perfect. We handle international shipping contracts. 6 different languages, constant documentation. Our current service is expensive and slow. Sophia slid the contract across the table. Work for us. Translate our legitimate business documents. We'll pay you properly, and in return, my legal services are covered. It felt too convenient, too easy. But desperation made people accept things they normally wouldn't. What kind of shipping business requires 6 languages? The international kind. Import and export through the port. We handle cargo from Europe, Asia, South America. The documentation alone is extensive. Sophia's expression didn't change. The contracts you'd be translating are completely legitimate business. And it's all legal? The documents you'll work on? Yes. Completely above board. Sophia met her eyes. I can't speak to everything that happens in our organization, but what you'll be handling is clean. It was as honest an answer as Elena was likely to get. She looked at the contract, at the salary that was more than triple what she made from her freelance work, and thought about the baby growing inside her. About Marcus's letter sitting on her table. About the choice between pride and survival. Okay. She signed the contract. When do I start? Tomorrow. Someone will email you the first batch of documents tonight. Sophia stood, filed the contract away in her briefcase. One more thing. Dante takes protection seriously. You'll have security watching your building from now on. That's not necessary. It's already arranged. Sophia's tone was final. Your ex has shown he's willing to escalate. We don't take chances with people under our protection. After Sophia left, Elena sat in her empty apartment holding the contract and trying to process what had just happened. In less than an hour, she'd gone from terrified and alone to employed and protected. It should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like stepping into a world she didn't fully understand. Her phone buzzed with an email. The first batch of shipping contracts, Portuguese to English. She opened her laptop and started working, losing herself in the familiar rhythm of translation. Outside her window, she noticed a black car parked across the street that hadn't been there before. Protection, Sophia had said. Elena wasn't sure if she should feel safer or more afraid. 3 months passed in a rhythm Elena had never expected to find comfortable. 5 days a week, she translated shipping contracts from her apartment, the work steady and well paid. Once a week, she took the bus downtown to deliver completed documents and pick up new ones, always met by Sophia or one of her assistants. 23 weeks pregnant now, her body had become undeniably obvious. The baby moved constantly, little flutters that were becoming stronger kicks. She'd started buying maternity clothes from thrift stores, setting up a small nursery corner in her bedroom with second-hand furniture. The money from Dante's company had changed everything. She'd paid off her overdue bills, stocked her pantry, even started saving. For the first time in years, she could breathe without calculating the cost of every decision. Marcus had backed off completely after Sophia's response letter. No more contact, no more legal threats. His lawyer had apparently advised him that pursuing the case would only expose him to counter-suits and potential charges. Elena had stopped looking over her shoulder, stopped jumping every time her phone rang. Today she was at the downtown office to deliver a particularly complex set of French customs documents. The building was all glass and steel, the 15th floor reception area decorated with abstract art that probably cost more than her car. Sophia met her in a conference room, reviewed the translations with her usual efficiency, then paused. "How are you feeling? The pregnancy?" It was the first time Sophia had asked anything personal. "Good. Tired, but good. When are you due?" "Early March. About 16 weeks. Sophia nodded, made a note on her tablet. "We'll need to discuss maternity arrangements. Dante insists you take at least 3 months off, fully paid." "That's too much. It's already decided." Sophia looked up. "You've been doing excellent work. The contracts you translate are better quality than our previous service. This is just standard practice." Before Elena could respond, the door opened and Dante walked in. She hadn't seen him since that day in the coffee shop 3 months ago, though she'd thought about him more often than she wanted to admit. He looked the same. Dark suit, controlled presence, those eyes that seemed to see everything. But his gaze went immediately to her stomach, and something shifted in his expression. "Elena." He said her name like he'd been thinking about it. "How are you?" "Good, thank you. The work has been." She trailed off, not sure how to express what his help had meant. "I'm glad." He moved into the room, and Sophia stood. "I'll leave you two to talk. Elena, the next batch will be ready Friday." Sophia left, closing the door behind her. The silence stretched. Elena stood awkwardly, hyper-aware of her pregnant body, of the fact that Dante was looking at her like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "Sit." He gestured to the conference table. "Please." She did, and he took the chair across from her instead of at the head of the table. Close enough to talk, far enough to not crowd her. "Sophia tells me you're doing well. The translations are excellent. I like the work. It's challenging but steady." "Good." He was quiet for a moment. "And your ex? No more problems?" "No, nothing. I think your sister scared his lawyer pretty badly." "Good," he said again. His gaze dropped to her stomach. "May I ask, are you getting proper medical care?" The question surprised her. "Yes. I have a doctor. The pregnancy is progressing normally." "Do you have everything you need? For the baby?" "I'm working on it. Buying things gradually." Dante pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. "I'm sending you contact information for a service. They'll help you get everything you need. Consider it a signing bonus for the quality of your work." "Dante, I can't accept. It's already arranged." His tone was final but not harsh. "You've earned it, Elena. Let someone help you." She wanted to argue, wanted to maintain some kind of independence. But the truth was, she did need help. Needed baby furniture and clothes and a car seat and 1,000 other things she'd been trying not to think about. "Thank you." The words felt inadequate. "Stop thanking me." But he said it gently. "You're not asking for charity. You're accepting help you deserve." His phone rang. He glanced at it, frowned slightly. "I need to take this." "But Elena." He stood, moved toward the door, then paused. "Would you have dinner with me? Tomorrow night?" Her heart skipped. "Dinner? Just dinner. No pressure, no expectations. I'd like to get to know you better." He held her gaze. "If you're interested." She should say no. Should maintain professional distance, keep this relationship purely transactional. But she found herself nodding instead. "Okay, yes." His smile was small but genuine. "I'll pick you up at 7. The restaurant was quiet and elegant, the kind of place where the menus didn't have prices and the waiters moved like ghosts. Elena had worn the nicest maternity dress she owned, dark blue and simple, and felt underdressed anyway. Dante sat across from her in a white shirt and dark slacks, no tie, looking more relaxed than she'd seen him. He'd asked her about her work, her pregnancy, her life before Marcus, real questions, listening to her answers like they mattered. "So you speak 4 languages?" he asked over the appetizer course. 5, actually. English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Italian. I learned Italian from my grandmother." She took a sip of water. "What about you?" "Italian, obviously. English, some Spanish. Enough to get by in business." He smiled slightly. "Your Italian is better than mine, according to Sophia. She reviewed some of your translations. Your sister is intimidating." "She is. But she's fair. And loyal." Dante's expression turned serious. "That's important in my world." "Loyalty. What exactly is your world?" Elena had been wanting to ask for months. Sophia said shipping, but it's more than that, isn't it? He was quiet for a moment, considering how to answer. "Yes, it's more than that. My family controls certain operations through the port. Some legal, some less so. We have territories, agreements with other organizations, rules that exist outside the law. Organized crime. That's one way to put it." He didn't look away from her. I'm telling you this because I respect you enough to be honest. Because if this," he gestured between them, "becomes something more, you need to know what you're choosing." Elena set down her fork. Her heart was pounding, but her hands were steady. "Is it dangerous? It can be. We have rivals. People who would use anyone close to me as leverage." His gaze dropped to her stomach. "Including someone carrying a child I care about. You barely know me. I know enough." Dante leaned forward slightly. "I know you're strong. That you protected yourself in that coffee shop even when you were terrified. That you work hard, that you care about doing things right. That you're raising a child alone and you haven't complained once about how unfair it is. It is unfair, though. It is, but you're handling it anyway." He reached across the table, not touching her but close. "I'd like to help. Not because you need saving, but because I want to be part of your life. Part of that child's life, if you'll let me." Elena looked at his hand on the table, at the possibility he was offering. Safety, support, connection with someone who saw her as more than a burden. "What would that look like?" she asked quietly. "Whatever you want it to look like." Dante's voice was steady. "I'm not asking to replace the biological father. I'm not asking you to marry me or move in with me or change your life completely. I'm asking for a chance to be present. To help raise this child. To be someone you can count on." "Why? Why would you want that?" "Because when I saw you in that coffee shop, being treated like you didn't matter, something in me recognized something in you." He finally took her hand, gentle and warm. "I grew up taking care of my sisters after our parents died. I built a life around protecting people, around making sure the ones I care about never have to fight alone. And I care about you, Elena. I have since that first day. You don't know me well enough to care about me. Then let me get to know you better." His thumb traced circles on her hand. No pressure. No obligations. Just time together, building something real. The baby kicked hard against her ribs, as if offering an opinion. Elena pressed her free hand to the spot, felt the flutter of movement. "Can I?" Dante gestured to her stomach. She nodded, and he moved his chair closer. His hand was large and warm against her belly, and when the baby kicked again, his whole expression lit up with wonder. "That's incredible. That's active. This kid never stops moving. Takes after their mother, then." Dante's eyes met hers. "What do you say, Elena? Give me a chance?" She thought about the past 3 months. The security that had kept Marcus away. The work that had given her financial stability. Sophia's fierce protection. The way Dante had helped without demanding anything in return. "Okay," she said. "Yes. Let's see where this goes." Over the next 2 months, Elena discovered what it meant to have Dante Romano in her life. He showed up. Consistently, reliably, without drama or demands. He came to doctor's appointments, asked intelligent questions, held her hand during the ultrasound when they confirmed the baby was healthy. He helped her assemble the crib she bought secondhand, spent 3 hours figuring out the instructions while she translated contracts on the couch. He brought her food when she forgot to eat, books about pregnancy that he'd somehow found time to research. 29 weeks pregnant now, Elena moved through the world differently. The security was constant but discreet, a car always nearby, someone watching when she went to the store or the clinic. Marcus had tried to contact her once, a drunk text at 2 in the morning, and had been visited by 2 of Dante's men the next day. He hadn't tried again. She was learning about Dante's world gradually. Meeting his sisters. Sophia she knew, but Maria and Lucia were warmer, immediately folding her into family dinners and baby shopping trips. Learning that the shipping business included legitimate import-export operations alongside smuggling and protection rackets. Understanding that Dante operated in a space between legal and illegal, where power came from reputation and consequences. Tonight they were at his house in the Heights, a modern building with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Elena sat on his couch, feet propped up because they'd started swelling, while Dante made dinner in the kitchen. "You don't have to cook for me," she called out. "I can order something. I want to." He appeared in the doorway with 2 plates of pasta. "Besides, you said the baby was craving Italian food. The baby is always craving something." She accepted the plate, took a bite, and made a sound of pure pleasure. "This is amazing. Family recipe. My mother taught all of us to cook before she died." Dante settled beside her, close but not crowding. She said a man who can't feed himself is helpless. They ate in comfortable silence. Over the past weeks, Elena had learned that Dante didn't require constant conversation, was content to simply exist in the same space. It was one of the things she'd come to love about him. Love. The word had crept into her thoughts gradually, unwanted at first because it felt too soon, too complicated. But watching him now, seeing the way he'd integrated himself into her life without taking it over, she couldn't deny it anymore. Elena. Dante set down his plate, turned to face her. I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen without interrupting. Her stomach tightened. Okay, there's a situation developing. Another family is moving into our territory, trying to take over some of our operations. It's going to get complicated, possibly dangerous. He took her hand. I've arranged for additional security for you. Round the clock. And I want you to stay with me for a while, just until this is resolved. How long? Could be weeks. Could be months. I don't know yet. Elena pulled her hand back. Dante, I can't just move in with you because of some business problem. I have my own apartment, my own life. I know. And I'm not asking you to give that up permanently. I'm asking you to let me keep you safe while I handle this. His voice was calm but serious. The people we're dealing with, they don't have rules about civilians. They'll use anyone close to me as leverage. Then maybe we shouldn't be close. The words came out harsher than she intended. Is that what you want? No. She pressed her hands to her face. No, but I don't want to be a liability either. I don't want my baby to be used against you. Then stay where I can protect you both. Dante moved closer, not touching but present. I have a spare room. You'll have privacy, space, everything you need. This isn't about control, Elena. It's about keeping you alive. She looked at him, at the genuine concern in his eyes, and felt the weight of the choice. Independence or safety? Pride or survival? How bad is it? Really? Bad enough that I'm worried. He didn't sugarcoat it. These people are ruthless. They've already sent messages. Threats against my family, my businesses. It's only a matter of time before they target people close to me. And you think I'm close to you? I know you are. His hand found hers again. You matter to me, Elena. More than I expected. More than I probably should admit this soon. But I'm not going to lie about it. I care about you and that baby, and I need you to let me protect you. The baby kicked, hard enough that Dante felt it through their joined hands. He looked down, then back at her face. Please. She'd never heard him say please before. Never heard that note of vulnerability in his voice. It made her decision easier than it should have been. Okay, but I keep working. I'm not going to sit around being protected like some princess in a tower. Deal. Relief flooded his expression. You can work from here. I'll have your things moved tomorrow. Living with Dante was different than Elena expected. He gave her space, respected boundaries, never pushed for more than she was ready to give. But he was also constantly present. Bringing her breakfast in bed when her back hurt, working beside her at the dining table while she translated contracts, rubbing her swollen feet at night while they watched television. 32 weeks pregnant, Elena felt like a whale. She couldn't see her feet anymore, couldn't bend over without assistance, couldn't sleep for more than 2 hours without needing to pee. But Dante treated her pregnancy like it was normal, never made her feel burdensome or unattractive. The situation with the rival family had escalated. Dante came home tense some nights, his jaw tight with stress he tried to hide. There had been an incident at one of the warehouses, a fire that was definitely arson. Another family associate had been beaten badly enough to end up in the hospital. Elena was finishing a Portuguese contract when Dante's phone rang. She watched his expression change as he listened, go from neutral to something cold and dangerous. When? He asked. Then, I'm on my way. He hung up, already moving toward the bedroom to change clothes. What happened? They hit one of our trucks. Stole the cargo, beat the drivers. His voice was controlled fury. I need to deal with this. Marco will be here in 5 minutes, he's your security tonight. Don't open the door for anyone else. Dante. He crossed back to her, cupped her face in his hands. I'll be back before morning. Stay inside, stay safe. Then he was gone, and Elena was left in the suddenly too quiet apartment, one hand on her stomach and a sick feeling in her chest. Marco arrived as promised, a thick-shouldered man in his 40s who'd always been professional with her. He positioned himself by the door, weapon visible under his jacket. Mr. Romano said you might need anything? No, I'm fine. She tried to focus on her work, but the words blurred together. Around midnight, the contractions started. At first, Elena thought it was just Braxton Hicks, the practice contractions her doctor had warned her about. But they kept coming, regular and increasingly painful, and when she stood up to walk them off, her water broke. "Marco." Her voice came out shaky. "I think I'm in labor." He had his phone out instantly, calling Dante while helping her to the couch. "Boss, she's in labor. Water just broke." Elena could hear Dante's voice through the phone, sharp with urgency, but couldn't make out the words. "I'm taking her to St. Catherine's now," Marco said. "Meet us there." The next hours were a blur of pain and medical professionals and fear. Too early, she was only 32 weeks. The baby wasn't supposed to come yet. But her body didn't care about timelines, and the contractions kept intensifying. Dante appeared in the hospital room at some point, still wearing his suit from whatever he'd been dealing with, his face pale but controlled. He took her hand, let her squeeze until she thought she might break his fingers. "You're doing great," he said between contractions. "The baby's going to be fine. You're both going to be fine. It's too early. The doctors said 32 weeks is good. Modern medicine can handle this." He brushed sweat-soaked hair from her forehead. "Breathe with me. In, out." The labor progressed faster than anyone expected. 4 hours of increasing pain, of medical staff checking dilation and making encouraging sounds, of Dante beside her saying things she couldn't quite process over the roaring in her ears. "One more push, Elena. You're almost there." She pushed, felt something give and shift and then suddenly release. A cry filled the room, smaller and weaker than she'd imagined, but perfect. "It's a girl." The doctor held up a tiny, red-faced creature. 4 pounds, 3 ounces. "She'll need to go to the NICU, but she's breathing on her own." They let Elena hold her for just a moment, this impossibly small person with dark hair and eyes that weren't quite focused yet. Then the nurses took her away to the specialized unit, and Elena was left empty and terrified. Dante sat on the edge of the hospital bed, pulled her against his chest. "She's strong, like her mother. What if something happens to her? Then we'll handle it." His arms tightened around her. Together. The baby, Isabella, Elena named her during those first fragile days, spent 3 weeks in the NICU. 3 weeks of monitors and feeding tubes and Elena and Dante living in the hospital, taking turns sitting beside the tiny incubator. Dante was there for all of it. Held Elena when she cried from exhaustion and fear. Learned how to change impossibly small diapers and give bottles of pumped milk through feeding tubes. Spoke to Isabella in quiet Italian, telling her stories about his family, about the world waiting for her. The situation with the rival family had been resolved while Elena was giving birth. Dante didn't give her details, just said it was handled, in a tone that suggested she didn't want to know more. The threats had stopped. The territory was secure again. On the day they brought Isabella home, the baby weighed 5 pounds and could breathe on her own. Elena carried her in a car seat that seemed enormous for such a small person, Dante walking beside them with all the hospital bags. His apartment had been transformed. The spare room was now a complete nursery, crib, changing table, rocking chair, everything in soft yellows and whites. Elena stood in the doorway, overwhelmed. "When did you do this?" "Last week. Sophia helped." Dante set down the bags. "I wanted her to have a real room." "Dante, this is too much." "Stop." He turned her to face him. "Stop saying that. You and Isabella are part of my life now. This is what that means." Elena looked up at him, at this man who'd stepped into fatherhood without hesitation, who'd held their daughter through the scariest weeks of her life, who looked at them both like they were his entire world. "I love you," she said. The words came out simple and true. Dante's expression softened. "I love you too. Both of you." He kissed her gently. "I have for weeks. I was just waiting for you to be ready to hear it." That night, after Isabella was fed and sleeping in her crib, after Elena had showered and changed into comfortable clothes, she found Dante standing at the nursery window, watching their daughter sleep. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For everything. For saving me that day in the coffee shop, for giving me work, for being here through all of this. You don't need to thank me. I do, though." She moved to stand beside him. "Because you changed my life. You gave me safety when I had none. You chose us when you didn't have to." Dante pulled her close, his chin resting on top of her head. "I chose you because not choosing you was impossible. The moment I saw you in that coffee shop, something in me recognized something in you. And I knew I wanted to be part of whatever came next." 3 months after Isabella came home, Elena's life had developed a rhythm she'd never expected to find. The baby was growing stronger, hitting milestones that made the NICU stay feel like a distant memory. Dante had formally asked her to move in permanently, and she'd said yes. She was loading the dishwasher one afternoon when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Elena? The voice was slurred, definitely drunk. It's Marcus. Her blood went cold. How did you get this number? Doesn't matter. I just wanted to tell you something. He laughed, ugly and sharp. I saw you. You and your rich boyfriend and that baby. Playing happy family. Marcus, don't call me again. You think you're so special now? Think he actually cares about you? His voice turned vicious. He's using you, Elena. Men like that, they don't love women like you. They collect them. And when he's done, you'll be right back where you started. Fat, alone, worthless. She hung up, hands shaking. Then immediately called Dante. He answered on the first ring. What's wrong? Marcus just called me. He's drunk, he was saying things. Where are you? Home. With Isabella. Marcos there? Yes. Outside. I'm coming home. Don't answer your phone again. The line went dead. Dante arrived 20 minutes later, his face set in lines she'd learned meant controlled fury. He found her in the nursery, holding Isabella even though the baby was sleeping peacefully. Tell me exactly what he said. Elena repeated the conversation, watched Dante's expression grow colder with each word. He won't call again, Dante said finally. I'll make sure of it. What are you going to do? Nothing illegal. Nothing that will come back on you or Isabella. He took the baby gently, laid her in the crib, then pulled Elena into his arms. But he needs to understand that you're protected. That there are consequences for threatening what's mine. I'm not yours. You are. His dark eyes held hers. You're mine and I'm yours and Isabella is ours. That's what family means. And I protect my family. 2 days later, Elena got a call from a number she didn't recognize. This time it was a woman's voice, professional and cold. Ms. Martinez? This is Detective Sarah Chen. I'm calling about Marcus Chen. He was involved in an incident last night. Elena's stomach dropped. What kind of incident? He was arrested for DUI, resisting arrest, and assault of a police officer. He's currently being held without bail. A pause. He also had several outstanding warrants we weren't aware of. Tax fraud, mainly. He's looking at significant prison time. After the call ended, Elena sat in stunned silence. Then she went to find Dante, who was working in his home office. Did you do something to Marcus? He looked up from his laptop. I had my people make sure the authorities were aware of his various legal issues. And I may have arranged for him to be in a location where he'd be likely to drive drunk and encounter a police checkpoint. He closed the laptop. He did the rest himself. That's manipulation. That's consequence. Dante stood, moved around the desk. He threatened you. Threatened our daughter. I made sure he faced appropriate legal consequences instead of something worse. Something worse like what? Like the things I wanted to do when I heard what he said to you. His voice was level but his eyes were dark. I could have had him hurt, Elena. Badly. Could have made him disappear. But I chose the legal route because that's what you'd want. Because I'm trying to be better than what I was. Elena looked at him, at this complicated man who operated in shades of gray, who protected her through manipulation and power while trying to stay within bounds she'd accept. Thank you, she said finally. For not doing something worse. I'll always choose the lesser evil when I can. He pulled her close. For you. For Isabella. For the family we're building. That night, after Isabella was asleep, Dante brought Elena a small box. Inside was a ring, simple platinum band with a single diamond. Marry me, he said. Not a question, but not quite a demand either. Elena looked at the ring, at him, at the life they'd built together over the past 9 months. You don't have to marry me to stay in our lives. I know. I want to anyway. His voice was steady. I want Isabella to have my name. I want you to have my name. I want the world to know you're both mine. And if I say no? Then I ask again later. A small smile touched his mouth. I'm patient. Elena thought about the girl she'd been 9 months ago. Scared, alone, being humiliated in a coffee shop. Thought about the woman she was now, protected, loved, building a family with a man who'd chosen her when he didn't have to. Yes, she said, I'll marry you. The wedding was small and private, held in Dante's living room with just his sisters and their families present. Elena wore a simple cream dress, held Isabella in one arm while Dante slipped the ring onto her finger with his free hand. I promise to protect you and our daughter, he said. To provide for you, to respect your choices, to be present even when my work pulls me away. To love you for exactly who you are. Elena's vows were simpler. I promise to trust you. To let you help. To build this life with you, whatever that looks like. To love you even when you're overprotective. The family laughed, and they were married. 6 months later, Elena stood in the same nursery, now slightly bigger to accommodate Isabella's growing collection of toys. The baby was pulling herself up on furniture, would be walking soon. She had Dante's dark eyes and Elena's stubborn determination. Outside, the city sprawled in afternoon sunshine. Marcus was serving a 3-year sentence in minimum security. The rival family that had threatened them had been absorbed into Dante's organization through negotiation and strategic pressure. Life had found a careful balance. Dante appeared in the doorway, home early from whatever meeting had occupied his morning. "How are my girls?" Isabella squealed, reaching for him. He scooped her up, pressed kisses to her cheek while she giggled. "We're good," Elena said, moving to wrap her arms around both of them. "We're really good." And for the first time in longer than she could remember, it was completely true. She had security, love, family. Had built a life from the wreckage of her past. Had found safety not in hiding but in standing beside someone strong enough to protect what mattered. The coffee shop where it all started was across town, a place she never needed to visit anymore. But sometimes Elena thought about that day. About Marcus's cruelty and Dante's intervention and the choice she'd made to accept help when she needed it most. That choice had changed everything. Had given her a daughter, a husband, a family, a future. Had turned her from victim to victor, from alone to beloved. She looked at Dante holding Isabella, both of them watching her with identical expressions of love, and knew she'd choose it all again. Every complicated, dangerous, beautiful moment of it.